The story begins with a boy following his grandfather through a traditional Japanese home, surrounded by crystal clear streams and gorgeous mountains. The boy, named Minato, places 2 jars on an altar, and his grandfather hands him 2 small rice cakes for the offering. Behind them, a little girl plays by herself with a ball, happy as can be. Minato feels something, turns his head, and spots the girl standing there. He's distracted for just a second, and when he looks back at the altar, the rice cakes are gone. The girl takes off running with them, totally pumped, and just vanishes right in front of Minato's eyes. Like, literally disappears into thin air. Minato freezes. His heart drops straight to his stomach, and he grabs onto his grandfather, shaking. His grandfather, instead of freaking out, smiles and tells Minato that he's finally started to see them, and that, apparently, he can only see the good ones. He explains that the little girl is called Zashiki Warashi, that she's been living in that house since long before his grandfather was even born, and asks Minato to always leave some sweets out for her. Then he says something Minato will never forget, that the ability to see what others can't will one day be incredibly useful to him. A few years pass. Minato steps off a bus and walks toward an abandoned rural property that belongs to the family. The area is calm, quiet, almost weirdly peaceful. He arrives at the place, and a dark, evil aura radiates from it. But since Minato can only see good things, all he feels is his vision going blurry, like some strange fog drifting in front of his eyes. The moment he goes to open the door, his spiritual power kicks in on its own and purifies the entire evil aura all at once. Minato is completely lost. A gust of wind carries one of his notes to a mountain shrine. The note touches the shrine, and the spiritual power locked inside those words purifies the whole place. The power fades, and there in the shrine, asleep for who knows how long, Yamagami awakens. Minato steps inside the new house and realizes it's massive, a serious amount of work ahead of him. He starts jotting down everything he needs to do and gets to cleaning. In the middle of it all, he calls his mom on his cell, and she fills him in on the situation. A distant relative of Minato's dad built the house to retire in, but ended up passing away, and the house sat empty for 2 years, so she's counting on Minato to take care of the place. Minato asks why nobody bought such a nice house. His mom says some people did come to look, but for some mysterious reason, every single one of them backed out. Right at that moment, the eerie aura shows up again, but Minato's spiritual power, locked inside the notes scattered around the house, activates and drives the aura away once more. Minato finishes cleaning, notices some flowers on the floor, and stares at them completely baffled about where they came from. Without him realizing, something watches him from inside a bush. A little while later, Minato hires a gardener to take care of the property's garden. While the two are talking, the evil aura lands on the gardener's shoulder, and the guy feels a weird, uncomfortable sensation. Then, a light breeze blows one of Minato's notes right onto the guy's shoulder and purifies the aura on the spot. The gardener's shoulder feels brand new, and he's absolutely pumped about it. Minato, meanwhile, notices that the ink on yet another one of his notes has just disappeared. He also spots some mugwort on the ground and asks if the gardener left it there. The guy says nope. Minato can't figure out who could have done it. The next day, when he wakes up and heads outside, he finds some raspberries on the ground. He senses a presence, and then a memory from childhood hits him. The spirit girl always left him little gifts as a thank you for the offerings. Minato decides to return the favor. He heads to the local market, picks up some traditional sweets and a bottle of sake, and leaves everything out as an offering. The moment the scent hits the air, a beautiful white wolf appears on top of the wall, gracefully hops down, and radiates a divine aura that Minato can see crystal clear. In a commanding voice, the wolf apologizes for the intrusion. Minato's eyes go wide and he shouts, "The dog talked!" The wolf shoots back flatly, he's not a dog, and introduces himself as Yamagami. Minato blinks once, puts it together, and calms down almost immediately, which for the record completely throws Yamagami off. He finds Minato to be a pretty strange dude. Minato asks if it was him who left the little gifts. Yamagami confirms it. Minato thanks him and explains that he bought all of this specifically to return the favor. Yamagami tears into a piece of meat with real enthusiasm. Minato offers the sake, but Yamagami, a little embarrassed, says his strength hasn't fully come back yet, and that he'd rather have water for now. Minato pours it without missing a beat. Yamagami thanks him and says he was saved because of Minato. Minato is confused since he doesn't remember saving anyone. Yamagami explains, while he was weakened, the evil creatures lurking around the property simply vanished without a trace, and it was all because of the words Minato writes, which were purifying every bit of impurity in the area. That's when Minato finally understands why the ink on his notes keeps disappearing. The gardener shows up to grab a tool he left behind. Minato tries to point Yamagami out, but Yamagami calmly explains that ordinary people can't see him. Minato goes to pour Yamagami more water, and this time brings sparkling water. Yamagami takes a sip and feels a tingle run through his entire body. He's really into it. Minato then asks why the things he writes have this kind of power. Yamagami says he's not entirely sure, but asks whether anyone has ever complimented Minato's handwriting before. Minato thinks about it, and a memory surfaces. When he was a kid, he made a name sign for his family's hot spring inn. When he carved the name, his dad put the sign up as decoration, and a mysterious customer thought it was absolutely incredible. He told them never to take it down, and even suggested Minato make another one for the house. Yamagami says that man was probably someone who could see what others can't. Minato smiles and says that after that day, making signs turned into his hobby. He shows that he already made 2 for right here on the property. Yamagami guides him. 1 sign at the front of the house, 1 at the back. The power Minato put into the signs activates, and a barrier rises up around the entire property. Minato's jaw drops. Yamagami says that from here on out, evil beings won't even be able to get close to the house. Then he turns to Minato and says, with total conviction, that Minato possesses a tremendous power, and that if he becomes aware of it and hones it, he could become something far beyond anything he imagines. Days pass. Yamagami keeps visiting Minato and going to town on the offerings. Minato notices that Yamagami is radiating way more power than before. Yamagami confirms it and says it's all thanks to Minato. Minato asks if it's because Yamagami has been eating more. Yamagami says that's part of it, but the bigger reason is the respect Minato shows him. Minato shows him even more respect, and Yamagami's aura grows so intense that it starts to actually hurt Minato's eyes. Elsewhere, a group of exorcists are in the middle of a battle against evil spirits, and end up letting one slip away. Harima sprints desperately to stop the spirit from reaching the shopping district. Minato steps right into the creature's path, and the instant the spirit touches him, it's exorcised on the spot. Harima stops out of breath, completely dumbfounded. A spirit that powerful? Wiped out in a split second? Who is this guy? A purified orb drops to the ground without anyone noticing. Harima asks if Minato is okay. Minato responds, bummed out. The ink on his grocery list disappeared again. The orb rolls on its own into a dark alley. Back at Minato's house, Yamagami notices the garden is looking dry and lifeless. He uses his power and fixes it. When Minato wakes up and heads outside, the garden is stunning, lush, vibrant, bursting with life. He asks if it was Yamagami who did that. Yamagami confirms it, with a certain pride, saying that for him it's child's play. But Minato notices that Yamagami looks noticeably smaller than before. Yamagami says it's because he burned through a lot of power, but tells him not to worry, he'll bounce back soon. A few days later, Minato notices Yamagami hasn't been coming around. He gets home, senses a presence, rushes to look, and finds a tiny squirrel. Then Yamagami shows up, now even smaller and weirdly adorable. And right behind him, 3 little fox spirits appear too. Minato asks if they're Yamagami's kids and jokes if the guy's getting up there in years. Yamagami takes mild offense and explains, they're not his kids, they're Marta's, his servants, clones created from his own power. That's why he's so tiny right now. The 3 introduce themselves, Siri, Torika, and Utsugi. Minato offers rice cakes to everyone. The 3 dig in happily. Minato tells them to eat as much as they want, and Utsugi, completely overcome with emotion, declares her love for Minato right then and there. He doesn't know where to look. A little while later, all 3 fall asleep with their little bellies full. Minato looks over at Yamagami and notices he's already back to his normal size. Yamagami senses that someone has arrived. It's Harima, standing out front of the house, completely frozen by the powerful energy radiating from the place. He thinks to himself, is this the territory of some divine being? He's not wrong. Minato welcomes him in. Harima introduces himself as an onmyoji, which catches Minato off guard. Harima gets straight to the point. Was it Minato who exorcised that evil spirit a few days ago? Minato thinks for a moment and remembers the spirit that just crashed right into him. Harima explains that evil spirits have been showing up in way higher numbers, and the onmyoji can't keep up with all of them. So he asks if Minato would be willing to sell some of his talismans. Yamagami appears and quietly explains to Minato that Harima wants the papers with his writing on them. Harima watches, trying to figure out who Minato is talking to. Yamagami warns him that Harima can't see him either. Minato then looks at Harima and says, straight up, those talismans Harima is after are just grocery lists he wrote, and they're worth nothing. Harima is floored. He tries to wrap his head around how some random guy with a grocery list managed to take down a spirit that would have taken at least 3 onmyoji to exorcise. Minato offers, if Harima needs these lists, he'll write some up right now. Harima watches, genuinely expecting some kind of ritual or secret technique, and Minato literally just writes down names of stuff to buy at the store. Harima nearly spits out his tea, but then he notices a green light emanating from the words Minato just wrote, and he cannot figure out how a regular person's grocery list is packing this much power. Minato feels a slight dizzy spell. Yamagami warns him he's burned through too much power. Minato hands over the lists and Harima offers solid cash as payment. Minato tries every way he can think of to turn it down, insisting that it's literally just a grocery list. Yamagami, losing his patience, tells Minato to just take the money already because Harima isn't going to let it go. Minato takes it. As a bonus, Minato draws a pentagram on Harima's hand and explains that since Onmyoji usually use pentagrams on their talismans, he hopes it'll help a little. Harima gets a call from his partners begging for backup against a powerful spirit. He takes off running, already dreading the worst. But the moment he gets close to the spirit, Minato's pentagram activates and exorcises the creature in an instant. Harima yells in shock, completely unable to believe what just happened. The next day, Minato does the math and realizes he is completely broke. Not a single dollar to his name. The reason? 3 adorable little creatures with bottomless appetites who eat like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet and it's closing in 5 minutes. They absolutely inhale everything with huge smiles, and even ask Minato if all that food isn't way too expensive. The guy lies straight to their faces and says nope, telling them he wants them to eat well. Yamagami also joins the feast and goes absolutely crazy over a delicious, ridiculously overpriced kintsuba. Minato knows these things cost a fortune, but he also knows that a deity has standards, and that if he shows up with cheap food, he's going to hear about it. Right at that moment, another god appears in the small garden pond. Later, Minato heads out to look for some side work. He spots a raffle happening just ahead, buys a ticket, spins the wheel, and wins the grand prize, 100,000 yen. With the prize money, he excitedly heads to a liquor store to grab some good sake for Yamagami. The moment he walks in, he's greeted like a VIP. The store is celebrating its 333rd anniversary, and he happens to be the 333rd customer. Because of that, he walks out with a luxurious top-shelf sake set. Back home, Minato is absolutely stunned by his ridiculous streak of luck and asks if this is somehow Yamagami's doing. Yamagami says no, and explains it's actually the other god who appeared in the garden that's behind all of it. The god Reiki, a spiritual tortoise. Yamagami explains that there are 4 sacred creatures that bring good fortune, and Reiki is one of them. Minato asks how long Reiki has been there. Yamagami tells him that Reiki claims Minato saved him. On that day, Minato was walking around town and accidentally expelled an evil spirit. That orb he saw rolling away, that was Reiki himself. Yamagami confirms that all the good luck Minato has been having comes straight from Reiki's power. Minato is still trying to process this, when his mom calls, completely losing it, saying the lottery ticket he bought a few days ago hit the jackpot, and he just won 1,000,000 yen. At that point, yeah, he believes it, and thanks Reiki from the bottom of his heart. Now that Reiki is also living in the garden, Minato asks if the tortoise wants some sake. The little guy moves at lightning speed the second he hears the word. Minato pours some for Reiki, and in return, Reiki presents him with 3 sacred seeds. Yamagami shows him a good spot to plant them and adds a heads up. These seeds aren't like anything Minato is used to, and that pretty soon, he'll understand exactly what that means. Later, Minato sets out some cookies for the gods, and notices 2 more visitors have shown up. They ask if they can have some too. Yamagami introduces his old friends, the gods, Raijin and Fujin. Minato is shook and asks if these are really 2 of the oldest and most feared deities in all of Japanese Shinto. Yamagami confirms it, but Minato admits, kind of awkwardly, that they look pretty cute, like way different from how they're shown in history books. So he offers them the cookies, and the gods accept without hesitation. Fujin and Raijin say they thought Yamagami had died, since it had been so long since they'd seen him. Yamagami claps back, saying he's not that weak, and that he wasn't going anywhere that easy. The familiars ask what brought the 2 of them there. They say they heard rumors about a new shrine popping up in the area, and figured they'd swing by. That's all. But then they spot Reiki going to town on the drinks and get visibly jealous. Minato, sharp as ever, picks up on it and offers them sake too. They both accept happily and drink so much that their little bellies are round, and they couldn't be more content. As thanks, Fujin grants Minato the power of the wind. The guy isn't quite sure how to use it, so the gods decide to show him. Utsugi holds up a leaf, and Yamagami tells Minato to picture the wind being released. Minato focuses and sends out a soft breeze. He's thrilled about it, and says that with this power, raking the leaves in the garden is going to be so much easier. That's literally where his head goes. Just the most Minato thing ever. Meanwhile, Harima keeps taking down evil spirits with the pentagram Minato drew on his fist, but he can feel the power starting to fade. That's when he hears another Onmyoji named Ichijo screaming. The guy is cornered by an evil spirit and is screaming at his partner Horikawa to do something, calling her useless. Harima ends up saving the loser at the last possible second, using one of Minato's grocery notes, and Ichijo clocks it. Shortly after, Ichijo pulls Horikawa aside and asks if she's figured out where Harima's grocery list come from. Horikawa says she still has nothing. Ichijo gets irritated, grabs her by the collar and calls her useless, but Horikawa doesn't flinch for a second, and asks him, right to his face, maybe it's just because he's more competent than you? Those words hit different. Ichijo lets go of Horikawa and swears to himself that he will never lose to Harima. The next day, Minato notices the rain stopped unusually fast, and Yamagami explains that not even rain can affect that garden anymore because the place is now a sacred domain. Minato can't believe it. He notices Reiki watching a plant and remembers that's exactly where he planted the sacred seeds the day before. Yamagami explains that what's growing there is the sacred tree of the Kusunoki estate, the camphor tree. Minato decides he's going to water it. Later, he lets Yamagami know he's going to visit his shrine up on the mountain to pay his respects. Yamagami warns him that his mountain is extremely dangerous and it's not a place to just hike for fun. Minato assures him and shows that he came prepared, with all the right gear. Yamagami says there's a shrine halfway up the mountain and that his servants will lead him there, then adds that long ago plenty of people used to visit, but that now it's completely abandoned. On the way up, Minato makes it clear he is very much a couch potato, but Utsugi, Torika, and Sari keep hyping him up and cheering him on. Eventually they reach Yamagami's shrine, and Minato immediately sees it's covered in filth. Without a second thought, he gets to work cleaning everything up properly, and Yamagami's familiars pitch in to help. After the cleaning, everyone sits down for a snack when they hear crows going crazy. The familiars head toward the noise, and Minato follows. They come across a powerful evil spirit, which attacks them the moment it spots them. They notice the orb being possessed, but realize that Minato can't see the impurity covering the whole area. Minato says he can only see good things, but admits that if even he can see this evil spirit, then this thing must be seriously bad news. Utsugi and Torika feel sick just from the miasma in the air. Sari tells Minato to use his notebooks on the spirit. Minato realizes he can't get close enough, so he tosses the notes into the air and uses his wind power to steer each one straight into the spirit, taking it out completely. The orb falls to the ground and transforms into a divine spirit that looks like it came straight out of a Pokemon game. The creature gets up, scales the waterfall like it's nothing, and takes one last look at Minato, like a nod of gratitude. Back home, Yamagami thanks Minato for cleaning up the shrine, and Minato asks what that creature was. Yamagami says he'll find out in time. Minato then notices the sacred tree has already grown quite a bit, but that its growth suddenly stopped. Reiki appears and points toward the door, signaling someone is there. Minato goes to answer it and comes face to face with another spirit who bows to him formally. Yamagami explains that this is yet another one of the 4 lucky spirits, Uryu. Uryu spots the sacred tree and summons a rain with his powers. This rain, nothing like regular rain, makes the tree grow at an insane speed right before Minato's eyes. Then Uryu says something, but Minato can't understand it. Sari translates, Uryu wants to live there. Minato says yes, noticing that Uryu and the tortoise are basically the same personality. Shortly after, he figures out that Uryu is obsessed with wine, and the familiars comment that now Reiki has a drinking buddy. Yamagami explains that Uryu is grateful to Minato. Minato doesn't get why, and Yamagami explains that Harima has been taking down evil spirits using the notes Minato sells, and that in doing so, Harima ended up purifying and saving Uryu himself. With a glass of wine and an excited little yelp, Uryu thanks Minato all over again. A little later, Minato gets a visit from Harima, hands over more notebooks, and thanks him for the gifts he brought. Harima asks Minato to draw a new crest on his fist, but this time he wants a grid-style crest, not a pentagram, because a pentagram is another family's symbol. Minato apologizes and says he had no idea, then draws the new design on Harima's fist. Later, while Harima is eating with his fellow Onmyoji Kotetsu, Kotetsu figures out exactly why his buddy has been on such a hot streak. But he makes it very clear that if other people find out about this, Minato, a civilian, could end up in serious danger. Or more specifically, Kotetsu warns that Ichijo, the obsessive try-hard who's always writing Harima's case, is already plotting something, and he hopes to God nothing bad comes of it. Meanwhile, Ichijo deliberately bumps into Minato, and without Minato ever noticing, slips something onto him. Later, while Minato was putting together some shopping lists, the god Yamagami notices that object stuck to him. That triggers Yamagami's memory of the conversation Minato had with Harima, where Harima had warned him that a problematic co-worker, who, for whatever reason saw Minato as some kind of rival, had become completely obsessed with the charms Minato made, and that this guy was probably going to come after Minato. Harima said he'd already handled the situation, but asked Minato to stay on guard, because this dude had a serious temper. So Yamagami just straight up destroys the object, declaring that humans, even after thousands of years, are still the most foolish creatures around, and reasserts with all the authority in the universe that he will not be beaten by something so utterly insignificant. The object Ichijo had planted on Minato was a tracker, and sure enough, this clown shows up right outside Minato's house alongside Horikawa. Horikawa asks what exactly Ichijo plans to do once he finds Minato, and then, with the most insufferable ego you've ever seen, Ichiju declares that he's going to compare his charms to Minato's or force him to craft charms exclusively for him. The audacity, bro. Right at that moment, Horikawa hears the sound of a bell and picks up on that divine aura radiating from the house. But Ichiju doesn't pick up on a single thing. And instead of, I don't know, knocking like a normal person, this guy just lays on the doorbell and shouts arrogantly, demanding Minato come out immediately, because according to him, he went through so much trouble coming all the way out here. Then this genius has the brilliant idea of kicking the door, and Horikawa is already covering her face, bracing for impact. The exact moment Ichiju makes contact with the door, the bell rings, and Ichiju's soul gets yanked straight into another world. He looks around, sees the mountain god's shrine, and goes, "Wait, how did I end up here? I was literally just at Minato's front door." He calls out for Horikawa. She doesn't show up. He completely loses it and takes off running, but a tree root catches his foot, sends him face first into a rock, and he dies. A moment later, he wakes up and finds himself right back in front of the shrine. He also realizes not even a second has passed. The guy slowly understands he messed up royally, and that he is in very, very deep trouble. He tries to run again, but every time the bell rings, he dies and dies and dies again. Over and over, bro. Pushed to the edge of a breakdown, he finally gets it. He's trapped in an endless death loop. So, absolutely desperate, he drops to his knees and begs forgiveness from the mountain god, full on admitting, out loud, no sugarcoating, that he's a complete and total jerk and pleading for the god to send him back to his world. Yamagami acknowledges the loser's prayers and pulls him back to reality. That brutal experience completely wrecked Ichiju's sense of time. So he asks Horikawa how many days she's been waiting for him out there. Horikawa has no idea what he's talking about and tells him that not even a second has passed since he touched the door. And then, the bell rings again, and Ichiju sprints away in a full panic, leaving Horikawa standing there completely baffled. Then we jump back a few hours earlier, where Yamagami was flipping through a catalog of popular shops in the city of Hojo, and spots that his favorite sweet shop just dropped a new coarse bean paste sake manju. Yamagami knows the shop owner personally, so he calls Minato over and they head out to grab some together. On the way there, people, even though they can't actually see Yamagami, instinctively move aside to let the deity pass. Minato clocks this and asks about it. Yamagami explains that very few people can actually see him, but that people with pure hearts or strong spiritual energy can sense his presence in different ways. Right on cue, Yamagami's divine aura flows through the street, and as it washes over a girl walking by, it makes her pick up this amazing scent, like fresh mountain air. Her friends standing right next to her feel absolutely nothing. The aura drifts past an old woman, who immediately senses a divine presence and starts praying on the spot. They step into a fabric and bedding store, and Minato says he wants to pick up a cushion for Yamagami. Yamagami says he doesn't need any cushion, but then he tries one out. And bro, this god turns into a complete softie the moment he sinks into it. Purest comfort he's ever felt. A little later, they head to Yamagami's favorite sweets shop, and he tells Minato to let the owner know he should stop making that new coarse bean paste product. The confectioner introduces himself as Echigoya and notices that Minato is the new resident of the house near the mountain. Minato confirms it and notices that Echigoya looks way healthier than he used to. Echigoya hands over the sweets and asks if Minato has ever gone up into the mountain. Minato says yes. Then Echigoya asks if he ran into the great dog that lives up there, clearly referring to Yamagami. Yamagami immediately corrects him. "I am a wolf." Minato, terrified of how the god might react, plays dumb and asks what this so-called great dog is supposed to be. Echigoya shares that back when he was a little kid, he got lost on the mountain and stumbled upon a shrine. But when he tried to get closer, a huge dog appeared and started chasing him down the mountain. Except the moment he made it off the mountain, he realized the dog had just been guiding him out safely and never meant him any harm. So he concluded that it must have been the spirit known as the escort dog. Yamagami makes it crystal clear that he is absolutely not a spirit. He is the mountain god. Echigoya says that's exactly why he calls him the Great Mountain Dog, and that he regularly leaves manju as an offering out of gratitude. Minato says the great dog must love those manju and says his goodbyes. Outside, Minato mentions to Yamagami that Echigoya used to look really worn down and says he's relieved to see him doing better. Yamagami, in the most casual tone imaginable, mentions that Echigoya's organs were in bad shape, and that since he couldn't afford to lose his top manju supplier, he simply healed him with his power. No big deal. A little later, back home, Minato hangs up the wind chime, the very one that's about to become Ichiju's personal nightmare. Later, while Yamagami is enjoying his manju, Minato steps out of a long, relaxing bath and asks what Yamagami thinks of the new coarse bean paste ones. Yamagami says they're great, including the coarse bean paste variety he used to turn his nose up at. Noticing Minato spent way too long in the bath, Yamagami calls it out, pointing out that he only bathes on Saturdays, which is unusual. Minato brushes it off, saying he misses the hot springs back at his parents' place. Yamagami picks up on Minato's homesickness, and to cheer him up, just casually conjures a hot spring right there on the spot and invites Minato in for a soak. Minato is absolutely thrilled. Everyone kicks back and relaxes together. Minato says this is straight up the most luxurious thing he's ever experienced, and Yamagami agrees. Later, Minato is sprawled out on the floor dying of heat, while Sari tries to cool him down with a little breeze. Yamagami is sipping on an ice-cold bowl of barley tea to beat the heat. That's when Utsugi comes crashing out of a tree, yelling that they've got visitors. As they go to greet them, Minato notices something hiding in the grass. It's the deity he purified back in the forest. Sari heads over to chat and tells Minato that the deity is asking if it's okay to come into the garden. Minato says yes. Inside, the divine being introduces itself as Kirin, but all Minato can actually make out is he. Sari steps in to translate. Kirin is expressing its deep gratitude to Minato for saving it, saying that thanks to him, it was able to recover its consciousness, and that it will never, ever forget what Minato did. Kirin keeps going for over an hour, to the point where Sari and her siblings are completely exhausted from translating. Finally, overflowing with eternal gratitude, Kirin promises to make Minato a ruler with half the world in his hands. Minato thinks that's absolutely ridiculous and says that just having Kirin's gratitude is more than enough. This completely stuns Kirin, who argues that humans are petty, cruel creatures who love fighting over land and resources and slaughtering each other, and genuinely cannot wrap its head around why Minato wouldn't want to rule the world. Then Raijin and Fujin show up and tell Kirin that Minato isn't that kind of person, and that owning half the world doesn't equal happiness. A little later, while Raijin and Fujin are chilling in the hot spring, Minato thanks them for getting him out of that awkward situation with Kirin. Then he notices that the two of them have gotten bigger. Raijin and Fujin explain that it's because of Minato's recognition and respect for them. It literally strengthened their existence. And as a thank you, they gift Minato a massive juicy fish, already sliced up clean using wind magic. Utsugi is hyped and asks if Minato can do that too. Minato says maybe someday. He tests out a little bit of his wind magic on Yamagami and makes the god sneeze. Fujin picks up on the fact that Minato is scared to use his wind magic because he's afraid of hurting the people around him. So Fujin suggests he let all of his wind magic loose at once, just to find out where his limit actually is, and hopefully gain more freedom in how he controls it. Right at that moment, Minato's phone buzzes with a text from his mom. The house's name plaques got destroyed and she's asking for new ones ASAP. Yamagami says it's weird for plaques to just randomly break like that. Minato says it happens all the time at his place. Yamagami disagrees and says someone is probably breaking them on purpose and that something non-human must be living in Minato's mom's house. Minato's mind immediately goes to the little ghost girl from his past. Yamagami says that little girl is probably the one sending the signal that the protective power in the plaques has run out. Minato recalls how back in the day the plaques would constantly fall, even when they were firmly secured, and figures out that the little girl, Azashiki Warashi, was breaking them as a warning. Yamagami says that since Minato himself made the plaques, the power sealed inside them must have been protecting the house. Minato concludes he needs to make new ones as fast as possible and send them to his mom, but wonders if he can make ones that are even more powerful. Yamagami says that to pull that off, Minato needs to level up his purification power, and only then will he be able to pack more strength into the plaques. So Yamagami leads Minato to a portal and tells him to step through. Minato goes in and comes out inside a forest created by Yamagami himself. Yamagami explains that this is one of his domains and tells Minato to cut loose with everything he's got. No holding back. Meanwhile, Kirin shows up carrying a gift for Minato, a stinky durian. But Reiki and Uryu kick the durian away before it gets anywhere near the house, which leaves Kirin absolutely baffled, trying to figure out what just happened. Reiki and Uryu ask how Kirin dares bring trash to the master's home while he's away, and tell Kirin to take it back where it came from. Kirin complies, but makes sure to point out for the record that durian is just a delicious fruit, not trash, and leaves all offended. Back to Minato. He channels every last bit of his wind power and releases it all at once, sending out a wave so intense it's almost scary, and immediately collapses from exhaustion right after. But he keeps pushing, training for days, until he finally levels up and crafts a plaque packed with way more power than anything he's made before. Yamagami congratulates him, and that puts the biggest smile on Minato's face, bro. Meanwhile, Harima arrives at a temple completely consumed by a dark, malevolent aura